hungry bunch, aren't they? Hi, we're going to make some whale hand rolled slab trays. First we need a slab to make a little stamp, a roller stamp I call it. So I've got a sheet of plastic on a piece of canvas, push it to the roller. I've got the roller set at 1/2 inch. Put a piece of canvas over the top. People roll slabs in different ways. This is just the way I do it. And then I'm going to roll it by letting it catch and then let it push. And I always roll it back. And that, I think, will be enough to make 2 roller stamps. First thing is we need to tidy up the workspace a little bit so that we can work easier. And then these slabs have to be smoothed, just using your metal rib. If you don't have a slab roller to roll out slabs, then you should just have 2 sticks with a rolling pin that you can roll the clay between, so the clay ends up the thickness of the 2 sticks. I have a video on making these roller stamps. I'll post a link at the end of this video so that you can watch it if you want to see how to make these, which are the little molds that we're going to try and make these to the size of. And I made these from styrofoam. It's basically insulation you can get from the hardware store. And they sell it in 4x8 sheets, and you can make a lot of stamps with one of these. In fact, there's still a print on this one of a fish, because I actually rolled a stamp on here just to see if it fit. But anyway, I can get 2 of this one as far as the roller things by just doing that, making a mark, and it sticks easy, so be careful. Oh, I almost stuck too fast. So we can see we can get 2. I could probably just place this, being careful I don't press too hard because it's easy to make it stick, and just draw around lightly. On the smaller side of this, put that one there. Let's keep them apart a little bit. Okay, so there I've got 2 of these that I can actually, by hand just cut through them. Should I make it a touch bigger? I think I will, just knowing that clay shrinks a little. So I'll cut down a bit longer here. Remember, I'm not going to press these into, when I've carved them, I'm going to fire them first so they will shrink. So I'll make these as just a touch bigger so that they don't shrink too much. I've got a ruler there, but I'm pretty good at cutting things like eye. This clay can be wedged up straight away and used for something else, so don't let it dry out. Just wedge it up as soon as you cut it off. Or put it in plastic if you want to put it off. As soon as you've got all your scrap cut off, just bang them into a ball. And that'll stop it drying out too much. This one I'll do afterwards. So I have 2 stamps. If I'm very careful, I can separate these just by lifting one. See if we can get it that way. And we can actually make space around each one. Try not to stretch them as you're doing that. And then coming in from the corner, you can get rid of the score mark there. We can trim these down after they're carved as well, so it's not like this is the last time I'll actually be smoothing or cutting. Well, we've got 2 to go. So then I just have to draw a whale on each one, or 2 whales, or 3, or a pod, as they say. What you do there, as I know, that a lot of people are very intimidated when it comes to drawing, but you can go on the internet and find images of whales just basically all over the internet. So you're not copying when you do something like this, you're using it as inspiration to create something else. So it's not like you're simply straightforward copying. But we can do that, and then of course in a computer you can enlarge or shrink them down, and you can simply trace through the shapes of these to get what you're looking to do. So I just have to find one that will fit on here, or I have to redraw it, because if you wanted to trace it, you simply place it on and then actually just use a pen to draw around it by pressing through the paper, and you'll have your image on the clay. So I'm going to work on that for the next little bit and see what compositions I come up on these 2, and I'll draw that one out as well, because that one I have a different shape mold here. Let me see which one of these is best. There, that one needs a little recutting actually, because it's got a bump in it. But so I'll recut this one, and then I'm going to make the mold here to work on this one. Okay, I've just recut this one, and I'm going to try a little experiment here. I'm going to cut it to the big side so it will shrink hopefully to the small side after the firing. I got a Lazy Susan underneath here, which I'm turning everything around on, which I got at the dollar store for $1.75. I'm sure it was made in China probably, but it's a Lazy Susan, so they're not meant to last, but they're very useful in the studio. This has got little ball bearings between the 2 plastic top and then the little metal thing underneath. I made some of them a long time ago for myself. I bought some, why didn't that go all the way down? I bought some bearings from the hardware store, and they cost a fortune. So now I just buy the Lazy Susans. But the ones I made are really heavy duty, out of plywood. But they cost so much, and for what I do with them, it's not worth making them myself. There it is. That's all it is. They're cheap and useful. Okay, so I'm going to simply trace a few of these. And this is why I say if you can't draw, it's a good idea just to take something. I use rubber bands around my tools to make them easier to grip as well. So we've got to think that where is the tail going to be on this one? Okay, I'm about to work on the little slabs that I'm going to make into roller stamps with the whales on them. So what you will need for doing them to form them into a stamp is a little circle of rolled out clay, and I used a cardboard tube here to actually press down onto the actual piece of clay to get a perfect circle. And then I use the same cardboard tube before the slab gets too dry to curve it around this actual piece of cardboard, so we know that the cardboard circle, this clay circle, is the same size as the rectangle of clay once it's curved around there. And then on this wheel here I've got the same piece which I have cut and scored around, even though this doesn't really need to be scored because this clay is brand new right out of the bag. But I can just, better safe than sorry. If you let your slab dry for too long, you may as well just score the edges of it, it would be fine. And then you've got to score all the way down 2 or 3 times. And this video, me making these roller stamps, is actually already out there, and I was doing fish in that video. You can watch that video, and I can put a link at the end of this video so you can watch it. It'll be right at the end after I finish the video. I usually have my credits going up, and the link will be there. It usually runs for about 15 seconds at the end of the video. So I've done that. You know, this has been sitting for overnight, so it has dried out a bit. And then you simply take your piece of clay, place it in the center, and adhere it like you normally do any piece of clay that you're actually going to join together. So this one out of the way. Do I have a piece of paper here? There we go. And I'm going to squash this down really tight onto that piece of clay that's dried out a bit. Because on one of the roller stamps I made last time in the other video, it did peel off a little bit at the edge. So you want to make sure you push with your fingers either side there. And the other thing I know, you see there's a little curve there because I'm pressing down that, pressing back here. So I've got to make sure that when I finish, I push that back so it's totally flat along that side. Okay, and then I'm going to use the end of this. I could use any modeling tool to do this part. I'm just pressing the clay down. Really make sure that's joined properly. Okay, so I still have my drawing there, so I'm going to be working on that next. But we have what I call a roller stamp. This is the really long one. I'm going to see what happens with this. It might end up being, I'm expecting a crack to appear here, I don't know, because it's got to curve around a lot more on this circle. Nope, did good. You could just do a wraparound, like you'd make in a wraparound mug, make it really thick and then carve into it, and it would work just the same. Let me show you one I did like that. This is a complete wraparound mug that I carved with a landscape and a dog chasing a cat basically across the front, chasing a bird. So you know, this is an easy thing I can make little trays from as well. Here's one that I made the same way, that I carved flowers and leaves in. Actually, I think I stamped some flowers and leaves into this one, so I can make a complete roll. It's almost like wallpaper on a slab when you roll this across it. But these are quick and easy to make. It's just a wrap around without a bottom on it. It works great. This was done using a hot glue gun, and I simply drew with a hot glue gun over the actual cardboard tube, and then roll this out over the clay. So you can do those really easy. It's just a cardboard tube with a hot glue gun pattern put all over the top. These have been firming up for about 2 hours now. This is still pretty soft, but I'm going to try and carve them at this point, and we'll see how far I get, whether it's still too soft or not. So I want, in the finished pieces, the whales to appear a little bit more three-dimensional. So I'm going to carve in this actual shape, and then I will carve ripples of water around the surrounding area. So I'm just going to take my carving tools and simply carve in. It's sticking to my tool, so that's a good indication that it's a little sticky, but I'm actually going to continue because it's not leaving too much of a burr. It's easy to drop off the tool. So this is going to take me a long time, but I'll be able to use it many times after that, so it's worth putting the time into the original, because you can simply stamp out as many of these images later on as you want. So I'll put you on stop motion. Now, I've got a depth carved. I want this fin to appear higher up than the actual body of the whale, so I will have to carve this even deeper into the actual mold. Now, remembering I've got to press this into clay later on, so if I make things too deep, maybe I won't even get them on, because I'll have to press super hard to actually let it show up in the tile or whatever I'm going to be carving. So I've got to be a little careful about how far I go down. This one has got to look behind there, so this one should be a little higher. So there should be a little, can even use a modeling tool if I've got one here, to push a little bit of clay here, because it's still relatively soft, to build up like a little edge rather than carving out. I'm building up in that little area there. So you've got to visualize, since this is a negative and you're going to have positives pressed from it. Now I'm just using a tool that has a sort of a rounded point to kind of create these kind of ripply kind of expansion lines that will kind of focus the eye on the actual shapes of the whales. But I've got to be careful not to distort the edge of the whale. And then finally, after I've done this, I'll probably go over it with a very small, fairly stiff head brush to kind of smooth it all out. So I'm just getting rid of the rough stuff, the little debris, because I don't want to wet it too much because I like the textural quality of it, but I want to smooth it a little bit. It'll be interesting to see if the actual area of the whale's underbelly at the front disappears because of the texture I've got around it. Now that brush is a bit too soft, so let's try this one. That's better. Just going to smooth the inside of the whale. Of course, we don't want it to be too sharp either, because it will be sharp in every original. If we make it sharp on this one, it will be sharp on every print that we do from it. I'm gonna watch my teeth. This is just to make sure there's no sharp edges to, print on every piece, because I'll just end up smoothing every print that I take from this if I leave any sharp edges on this. Now my guess is that somebody will say, we could have done this with a engraver or something and bake it really quickly. You just take a picture and so on, program your engraver, and you've got it. Now somebody will probably be doing that. I just like to do things by hand, because I can use this so many times afterwards. If I make it really fast at the beginning, it doesn't matter, because I've spent less than an hour on this just making the original. And I think the whales, I don't want to be too much, but I think I should like to have just an indication of the whale bending a little bit there. So that'll be very subtle in the original, in the prints, but you've got some lines to give body muscle to the whale. Let's give you a closer look. So that's what the original looks like. When it's bisquied, I'll show you what it looks like on the print. Okay, whenever I'm doing slabs, you just saw me cut these, just a regular slab about 1 inch thick, and then I put a piece of plastic on the slab roller, and I've got a blanket underneath and a blanket over top made of canvas. It's what came with the slab roller, and I simply put this in the middle. And I've shown how I make slabs before, where I like to it's now thicker at the edges down here and here than it is in the center. And then I bevel the front. So it should end up being more of a square than an oval. My slab roller at the moment is set really thick, so I'm going to change it to about just over a quarter. I have a Bailey slab roller in the other studio. I don't remember who made this, so if somebody knows who makes these, because I like this one a lot. The Bailey is a bit more technical, but this one is fairly simple, 2 adjusters, whereas Bailey has 1. But this one you can run it through and back again, and the Bailey you can only run it through one direction, which is why I prefer this one. Just over a quarter inch. And that's what I get, so it's much more of a square. When I used to do it before, it always came out as a big oval. When you peel plastic off, make sure it's fully on the paper. Just missed a little bit there. And then you peel the plastic off horizontally. Don't lift up because it will lift the slab. Just peel it along level with the plate and it comes off easily. So that's how you roll the slab. So let's try, this is the one I'm least confident about. It's a nice one, but I'm not sure it will work as well. So if this works, I think the others will work for sure. So let's have a look down as I do it. Okay, so I suppose, does it fit this way? Let's just do a gentle roll. No, it's not big enough that way, so it leaves an impression straight away. I might have too much clay here, I might waste a bit of clay, or I can make a tray out of it and then wedge it up anyway. So let's put it here. I think it'll roll up and end up about over there somewhere. Let's see. So, pressing down fairly hard. Shouldn't have let it roll back a second then, but it did. Seem to have missed a little bit there. Is that, oh, that's carve. Is that where it's carved? No, that's this opposite side. It should have worked. I just don't know. I'll probably just let go a little bit. Anyway, let's give you a close-up here. It looks pretty good. I would say that is going to catch the glaze really well. The lighthouse in the top corner, I can just kind of carve out a little bit, make it work a bit better. I'm not going to try rolling again, but I think that looks really nice. Now I have many molds here to play with, and that's the one that I worked with to do the actual, this for. So we've got that, which and we'll put like this and then form it down, but I want to make sure I've cut the tray big enough. So what I'm going to do, I've got these sticks that I cut into sort of random curves, and they make really good things to cut against. So let's just place it. I don't need that there. I'm going to place it right on the corner of the mold anyway. Dip it in water first. It always cuts better if you dip it in water. So I'd say that's fairly good. I'm just going to give it a little smooth. Make sure there's nothing sharp. Whenever you do texture things that are inside a bowl or anything, you've got to make sure there's nothing sharp, because you could catch your hands when you're washing it up and cut your finger. So I will paddle a little bit, making sure it's fairly centered. Okay, bit of paper on the top, board on top again, and then you're going to flip it upside down. Okay, that's better. Yeah, I can see the clay moving, you know, as I press, it's stretching out, so it's a good idea to do it this way. Oh, look at that. Get you close up. It's really nice. So, and I got a different one. Let's give this a go. So this one I'm going to place and try and do the tray the other direction. So let's go over there. Oh, this is really good. I bet I'll have to hire somebody to help me make these. They'll sell so fast. I haven't hired anybody in a long time. It's been like 6 years. But there's the two of them. Is that enough for you to see there? So I got a bunch of these. It looks like it was that one. Yep, that's the one. So basically, if I turn it that way up, it's bigger than the actual, and I could just use that to cut and have a shallow tray, but I like the trays to be a little deeper. So I'm going to do what I did last time. And I guess the same again. I could probably sponge the edge down here a little bit first. I don't do hand building very often, but more and more the hand building has been, especially with the fish and the whales that I put on the outside of the building, that's been taking up a lot of my time. Okay, so we've got that tray. I'm going to try lifting this one this time because I know what I can do. Okay. Okay, that's one. It worked. I don't think I moved it, but we'll see. So again, oh, I can't use the mold again, can I? I have one that's a bit bigger, so we'll have a white border around. Make sure it's even. Lift to the paper again. These wooden boards, I need to find a different wooden board because it leaves a texture on the bottom. So maybe a smooth masonite board would have been much better to do that. And then I can probably smooth the edge of this before I paddle it, although I'll have to do it again anyway. And I always smooth at the end. Yeah, I think I should probably see it's much longer than on this side, so I can keep it real accurate there. But you get the idea. Feel it? There you go. See if I can get it to release. Okay, works fine, and it's holding up a little bit. See if I can tilt it so you can see better. Alright, so I think you get the idea anyway. When the rim is a little bit soft, you can stick toilet rolls underneath the edges, because they're sort of springy and they'll push up when you get them underneath far up. Don't let it go too dry, because I like to make sure that it's not, the corners in here, there and there can actually be a bit sharper, so you want to make sure you don't end up with that mark where the toilet roll is just coming out from underneath the clay. I won't bother with the edges yet, but you can see what that looks like. Of course, you could be doing these with octopuses, shrimp, whatever you want to carve into them, dolphins, anything you want. So, but it's working pretty good. Now, we've textured the whole thing there. Maybe it's too much what I'm going to do here, but I've got a roller, which I've liked to use in the past because it has a watery look to it. So I'm just going to kind of come in and do the edges, because it has that kind of look that's on the inside of the piece too. And there's loads of texture tools you could do things like this. It should lift out a little easier this time, so it's not on there as long. And then we can get the toilet rolls underneath there to support it. So you've got the toilet rolls under there, just letting it firm up for an hour, and then I can take the toilet rolls out. It'll probably support itself at that point. And then I can take a paintbrush or a sponge and smooth down all the very edges of it. There's another one. better. So I got 5 of these made just in a little bit of time. Once again, these things are not, once you've got the original made, it's quite fast to do these. The original takes the time.